Death Dames. Oh, let me smack the mic with my notes first. Greetings, creepy friends, and welcome to the Death Dames podcast. I am your co-host, Kimberly.
And I'm Lila. Hi.
Hi, I'm Allie.
We are all joined here together today to discuss creepy, crawly things. That was awkward. Anyways. Okay, so how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, I guess we'll just hop into the icebreaker portion.
Okay.
What was something that made you guys happy this week?
Monday night, I went out to dinner with one of my friends. We went to get sushi, and because sushi's delicious. And so we were chatting, and we were, eating sushi and drinking our water and whatnot. And then this little girl comes over to our table.
There's the baby.
I was going to say, so it's been, 2 weeks since we had a baby-related story?
They had to come back at some point.
Okay. All right, continue.
So yeah, this little girl, she's probably like 3, 4 years old, walks over to the table, puts her, and she's about table level, and she puts her little hands up on the table and goes, "What are you guys eating?" And me and my friend Sarah just kind of
obviously sushi. Do you not know where we are, child?
So we kind of looked at her and we were just like, "Sushi? What were you eating?" And she goes,
"Do you have parents?"
Right. And actually her parents were about 2 tables down. So they could see her and everything. When they were like, "Oh God," they were so embarrassed. It was really funny. And she goes, "I was eating rice," and then she left. That was it. Yep. She and then she just kind of excused herself and went back to her parents. And then they apologized for the next 30 seconds. They're like, "We're so sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're so terrible. This cute little girl looking at our food and then walking away. How terrible."
I love children's ability to just not care.
Yeah.
Get away with it too. They're just like, whatever.
"Hey, what are you doing?" "Cool, I had rice." "All right, and goodbye." It's like, wow,
that
that
was
was a
it.
great
That
talk.
was enough of a conversation.
Yep.
That was all they
Literally.
needed.
Yep.
That's about my level of conversation, honestly.
And then as they were leaving, and the parents apologized again, and the little girl waved, like, "No, it's fine." But
I
yeah.
hope you enjoyed your rice.
Yeah. Hope you like your white rice. Okay. Yeah. So that's my little thing.
Cool, rice child, great.
Rice child.
Yeah.
Rice baby.
And then Allie, did you have anything? Did you have any,
Did you have anything fun in your life?
Did you have anything that made you smile in your bleak, miserable existence? Apparently,
Not really.
Jesus.
Yes. No. This week I started watching a new show, and I am obsessed, and I love it. It's I know we recorded.
Does it have a name?
Yeah. What is it?
Does The Handmaid's Tale?
Oh my God!
Ooh. I haven't watched it because I keep saying I'm going to read the book and then I keep forgetting to actually borrow the book from my library.
Yeah,
Allie.
I do the same thing.
Oh my God.
You guys, okay, you cannot talk to me about it though.
I won't.
I'm near the end of season 1.
That's cool. It sounds like you like this show. Wow.
Well, basically,
I'm allowed to like things, Kim, okay?
No, I know. I do not know why I made that so painfully
it's
awkward.
fine. You're just weird. Yeah.
Okay, well, my thing that made me happy this week, thanks for asking. I hate winter.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I think I've been pretty clear with everyone on that. That's no surprise to anyone. I really, really hate winter. I do not live in the best area for someone who hates winter so much because it is always cold where we are. But it's just recently kind of started getting a little warmer, and I'm very happy for that because I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for flip-flops. I don't like wearing shoes.
It's true.
You don't have to wear shoes or pants in the summer.
It's true. I can wear my dresses. I have so many sundresses. So my thing that made me happy is it is finally somewhat warm out.
Yeah.
It's going to be 70 tomorrow.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited.
I mean, I think it's going to rain,
windows,
but that's okay.
I'll take it. Okay, well, on that note then, are you guys ready to hear a story?
Yay.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Okay, well, real quick, hey, Allie, what's your research topic for today?
My research topic for today is uses for sulfuric acid.
Ooh, fun!
I wonder what that could be connected to.
Yeah, so as you've probably already figured out, I'm trying to cover cases and stories that haven't like really been heavily covered, while still trying to cover interesting things. So I think today's story kind of fits that mold quite well. We are going to start adding more crime cases in our itinerary.
Cool.
We've sort of been doing like crime, then history, then crime, then history. So as we've said before, please let us know any feedback you have. Email us at deathdamespodcast@gmail.com with your feedback, because I'm trying to come up with stuff that everyone wants to hear. So if you'd prefer more true crime, if you're okay with the occasional like dark history, or like last week with the debunking of urban myths thing, anything like that, we're still coming into a balance here to figure out like what we want to do and what you all like to hear. So but today we are going to be covering a true crime story, and we're going to travel a bit back in time. So our story today begins on July 24th, 1909, in Stamford, Lincolnshire.
Okay.
The reason that date matters is on that day, John George Haigh was born, and Haigh would come to be known as a brutal serial killer, one who used his scientific genius to murder a minimum of 6 victims, was described by the British papers as being a vampire and a monster. However, Haigh would one day be known by his more popular name, the Acid Bath Murderer.
Oh, shit. Ooh. It sounds really gross, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. Oh, it gets grody.
But I like it. Okay.
So, John George Haigh was born, obviously. Sorry, halfway through I started wondering.
He was born?
Yes. Halfway through the sentence, I started questioning how to pronounce his last name. I like panicked and I was like, maybe it's not Haigh. I know it's Haigh. I looked it up. I'm pretty sure it's Haigh. Anyways, so he was born, as I mentioned, in Stamford, Lincolnshire on July 24th, 1909, and grew up in the village of Outwood. His parents were John Robert Haigh and his wife Emily, and were considered to be serious members of the Plymouth Brethren, which is a severely conservative religious Protestant sect where all manner of entertainment was considered sinful. It kind of reminds me a bit, I guess, of like the Amish.
Okay.
It's no music, movies, magazines, newspapers. None of that is allowed.
Okay.
You just sit and stare at a wall all
Pretty
day.
much.
So all materialistic things are not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is also 1909, so it's not like they had Netflix, but... The oppressively strong religious environment he grew up in would often lead him to have recurring nightmares, often with frightening religious connotations. Despite his family's restrictions, Haigh grew up with a love of classical music and often went to concerts featuring music by Mendelssohn, Bach, Vivaldi, and many others. He would also develop a great skill at playing piano.
Cool.
Which he learned at home. Not sure how he pulled that off, but good on him.
Right?
Magic.
Haigh was also considered by many to be a bright child, and he even won several scholarships, including to Wakefield Cathedral, where he became a choir boy, glossing over that. Haigh's childhood was particularly rigid, though, and he never was allowed to enjoy anything that other children his age would partake in. Of course, it's like the 1910s in England, so I imagine childish fun would consist of, like, stickball and, like, I don't know, playing catch with dirty rags or something.
Yeah. Tag.
Yeah. But either way, due to the restrictions placed on its followers, the Plymouth Brethren isolated their children from any outside influences, which would, quote, corrupt them, which is super healthy for growing children. Yeah, has no negative repercussions on adolescent growth at all.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
That's the only way to raise your children.
Complete isolation.
Yeah, of course.
Makes them strong. Definitely doesn't make them serial killers.
Never.
No.
When and what case have you ever read that in? Come on.
Only 92%
Yeah,
of
almost
them.
every single one. Yeah.
Actually, also unrelated to this particular story, but Aleister Crowley, the black magic magician, he was also raised by parents who belonged to the sect.
Oh, great.
Just fun fact. Just unfun fact.
Okay, cool.
So clearly it raises healthy individuals with no hatred of rigid religious orders or societal norms.
No, not at all.
Nope.
After finishing school, Haigh entered into an apprenticeship for motor engineers, but left after a year where he began work in insurance as a salesman and advertiser.
Which sounds like everything that his family goes against.
Yeah, right. He was actually a great salesman, as he was a smooth talker and he dressed well, which gave him a respectable air and helped him to close sales. However, he was fired at age 21 when he was suspected of stealing from the cash box.
Oh, big no-no.
That'll do it. Haig's early adulthood wasn't entirely tragic, as on July 6th of 1934, Haig married 23-year-old Beatrice Hamer, but their marriage soon collapsed when Haig was arrested in November of that same year for fraud.
Oh, great!
Betty was pregnant at the time and gave birth to a baby girl while Haig was in prison, but she gave the child up for adoption and left Haig.
Oh.
Because of the divorce, Haig's conservative family abandoned him as well. Apparently, the previous crimes were NBD, but the end of his marriage was just too far.
Makes sense.
Haig was released after serving a very short sentence, and he clearly did not learn his lesson because he continued his illegal schemes through the rest of the 1930s. In 1936, he moved to London and became a chauffeur to William McSwan, who was a wealthy business owner in the area. Apparently, Mr. McSwan owned amusement arcades, which meant he too was probably used to nickel and diamond people. Get it? Arcades?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyways, we don't know why Haig quit that job, but he evidently left with no ill will in his wake. After working for McSwan...
What was that?
McSwan.
The whole time I wanted to say McSwain. All I wanted to, like, even while typing it, I was like, no, it's Swan, not Swain.
Swan.
So I knew I was going to say McSwain a few times. So, Swan. Okay. After working for McSwan, I almost did it. Haig decided to make a living being a full-time criminal and began pretending to be a solicitor named William Cato Adamson with multiple office locations. He sold fraudulent stock shares, which he claimed were from the estates of his deceased clients, at super cheap prices.
Great.
So this was during the tail end of the Great Depression, so people were looking to make an easy buck. So unfortunately, Haig had a large pool of gullible and desperate victims at his disposal. However, he was caught in 1937 and convicted of his second serious crime, this time by attempting to obtain money by false pretenses.
Great.
He received a grand total of 4 years, but with the arrival of the Second World War, authorities granted early release to many nonviolent offenders, so he was set free in 1940. Shockingly, he still had not learned his lessons, and performed small-time scams which provided him with a steady income.
Oh, how weird.
By 1943, Haig was making enough that he would afford to move into a highly respectable address in South Kensington at a fancy hotel. The other guests there were respectable professionals or retired persons with a great deal of wealth, so it was a smorgasbord of victims for Haig to pick off from. However, Haig was moving on to a more serious crime in his mind. He realized that his repeated arrests stemmed from leaving his fraud victims alive to report the crime. Obviously, it was their fault and not his.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Around the time that Haig's mind started to wander to murder, he became obsessed with the crimes of French murderer Georges Alexandre Sarret, who would dispose of his victims by using sulfuric acid. Haig then began experimenting with sulfuric acid to see how that could work, and found that it took only 30 minutes for a mouse's body to completely dissolve. Unfun fact.
Great.
In his mind, this was proof enough. He was ready to move on to a bigger test pool. Men.
Oh, they're so much bigger. Like, I'm just seeing so many problems with this.
No kidding.
Yeah.
At the time of his first murders, Haig was renting a small basement workroom in Kensington where he would devote all his time to his, quote, inventions.
Ew.
Yeah, nothing weird about a basement murder dungeon.
Ew.
Yeah.
It's just so unsettling to hear.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Never rent out your basement.
Invention.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No thanks. In 1944, completely by chance, Haig bumped into his former employer, McSwan, in a pub in Kensington. Guess what the name of the pub was?
McSwan Pub?
No.
I don't know.
Acid bath pub.
No.
I don't know.
The Goat Pub.
No!
to farm animals somehow.
I love England.
Yep. The goat.
What are we going to call it? I don't know. The goat pub.
The goat pub.
There's a goat over there. Yeah. I don't know.
She's looking around. Goat?
Goat?
There's a goat.
Goats everywhere.
So while at the pub, the goat pub, McSwan introduced Haig to his parents, Donald and Amy. McSwan at the time worked for his parents by collecting rent on their various properties, and Haig immediately saw dollar signs. In September of 1944, McSwan disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. No one, of course, except for Haig. For you see, Haig had lured McSwan to his workshop, where he bludgeoned his victim with a club or similar weapon, and then dumped the body into a 40-gallon drum of concentrated sulfuric acid. After 2 days, Haig returned to find that the bones and flesh had been reduced to a sludge-like liquid, so he poured it onto the dirt in the backyard behind the building. I'm sure it smelled great.
Oh my God.
And it probably left some really good imprints on the surrounding area. Like, it's still acid.
Mm-hmm. Haig then took McSwan's cash and converted all his assets to his own name. Unsurprisingly, the disappearance of a wealthy white man in London did not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
How strange.
Yeah. But it still took a year before Mr. and Mrs. McSwan expressed concern over their son's disappearance.
A year?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Deciding to ask his friend Haig what happened to their son, Haig told them that their son had gone into hiding in Scotland to avoid being called up for military service. A not that uncommon desire during wartime, especially for the wealthy.
Bullshit.
In an effort to help them out in their son's absence, Haig began taking over his work and began collecting rent for the Mr. and Mrs. McSwans. But, as I'm sure you've noticed here, Haig never had enough.
Yeah.
He had set his sights on the money in their coffers, and so he decided to eliminate them as well.
Oh, great.
Donald and Amy pretty quickly figured out something weird was happening with their son when, after the war ended, their son still had not returned home. Confronting Haig once more, he told them that their son was back from Scotland for a surprise visit, and wouldn't you believe it? He was staying at Haig's workshop.
Oh!
So, on July 2nd, 1945, Haig invited them to his workshop under the guise of them meeting their son. However, instead of meeting their son, they met the same fate as him.
Oh, geez.
Haig murdered Mr. and Mrs. McSwan with blows to the head, and then disposed of them in the same way, in drums of acid. After disposing of the bodies, Haig was able to obtain the McSwan properties, as well as stealing their pension checks, and stole about 8,000 pounds in cash. I couldn't get the exact amount, but that would be around $115,000 now, and about 100,000 pounds now. So it's about $100,000 in money just lying around.
Wow.
Good.
But of course, guess what? It wasn't enough.
Oh no, how
'Cause
weird.
it never is.
See, Haig, thinking he was a brilliant sneaky McSneaky Pants, had devised a way to predict regular winners at the dog track. However, like everyone else who thinks they can rig the gambling system, Haig lost heavily and decided to restore his lost profits by his new favorite pastime, murdering and melting people.
Great.
Good. Isn't that your favorite? That's what I do every Sunday afternoon.
That's every night of my life.
Yeah.
Oh, you lose all your money at the dog races?
And then I kill people.
Just,
Murder
go melt
and
people?
melt them.
Obviously.
You have to melt. No, the murder isn't enough. You need to melt them.
Well, no, but I mean...
That's where you find your real joy.
Right. My entire backyard is full of acid pulp.
All I can just picture when you said you have to find your joy is just that woman. What's her name?
What? Oh, Maria Kondo.
Yes, yes. I picture Maria Kondo just being like, "Does this barrel of acid bring joy? Does it spark joy?" So this time, Haig's victims were Dr. Archibald Henderson and his wife Rose, who were a well-off retired couple. Haig originally found them through an ad they had placed looking to sell their home in August of 1947. Haig pretended to be interested in purchasing the property, once more pretending to be loaded, and began negotiations with them. However, he claimed that he was suddenly stricken with the loss of a major business deal, meaning he was unable to purchase the house immediately. Regardless of the falling through of the sale that was never going to happen, Haig weaseled his way into their good graces and ended up befriending the Hendersons, So much so that he was even invited to one of their lavish parties and was asked to play piano for the group.
Oh.
He repaid them for their kindness in inviting him by stealing Henderson's revolver while in their flat, planning on using it in crimes in the future.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Haig was always ready. He was always on, man.
He'd be a great businessman.
Yeah, if he could not be a
wasn't a
shitty
murderer.
businessman.
Yeah.
On February 12th, 1948, Haig drove Mr. Henderson to his workshop where he shot him in the head with his own gun and disposed of the body by, guess, more acid.
Whoa! How strange.
What a twist. He then returned to Mrs. Henderson and told her that her husband had taken sick and needed her, and that they quickly needed to go to him.
Ugh.
He was naturally at Haig's workshop, which totally makes sense that your retired doctor friend was just hanging out at your super cool basement workshop.
Naturally.
Regardless, Mrs. Henderson believed Haig and accompanied him to his workshop, where she met the same fate as her husband. Yet again, Haig used his skills and forged their handwriting, sending letters to family, servants, and friends, explaining that they had up and moved to Australia. Totally normal.
Ugh.
If you guys ever get a random anonymous letter from me saying that I moved to Australia, it's not true, because I would never move to Australia.
Never. The bugs are huge there.
Yeah, I don't cat-sized spiders and like just everything trying to kill you.
No.
Like, no, I would never move to Australia.
Never Australia. Other places maybe, but never Australia.
Only believe it if it's like, I moved somewhere that has good noodles. Like, then, okay.
They have the biggest libraries here.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, okay.
I moved to Cake, Texas. It's literally made of cake.
It's all cake. Then I'd be like, okay, when am I coming to visit? All right.
No. You guys, this checks out. Kim loves cake.
Oh, God.
So Haig sold off their properties and pulled in more than 10,000 pounds from their bank accounts, and apparently kept their dog, which is kind of weird for a serial killer to keep their pet, but
that is weird.
I mean, there really aren't a lot of those.
No.
I can only think of a couple serial killers that had any pets.
Yeah.
And also, no, I didn't find out what kind of dog it was.
It's fine.
However, despite the fact that Haig walked away from this murder with an astronomical amount of money, within a year, he had lost all of it to bookies.
Oh my God.
I would also like to point out at this point that I ate literally a 30-cent cup of noodles for lunch. So Haig needs to get on my level.
Right? He needs to get his shit together.
Yeah. So by early 1949, Haig was broke. He was overdrawn at the bank. He was being hounded for back rent, which he had not been paying. And Haig was once more desperate for funds. Unfortunately, his next and final victim fell right into his lap. Sitting opposite Haig in the dining room of the hotel was a wealthy retired matron by the impressive name of, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Mrs. Henrietta Helen Olivia Robarts Durand Deacon.
That's not enough names.
There's no way all of those names were, like, necessary.
It was different times.
No.
She just like met more people and she's like, oh, you have a nice name. Oh, you have a nice name.
Let's add
You
those
have a
on.
nice name."
Like, it's not like those are all last names for different husbands. Like, those were mostly just, like, lots of first and middle names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the 69-year-old widow knew that Haig lived in the same building and that he was in the business of leasing and sales. So she thought he might have been interested in helping her promote one of her ideas that she had about manufacturing artificial nails. If only she knew the market for that, because woo boy. Haig, sensing his chance, dove on the opportunity and convinced her to meet him at his workshop where they could discuss the idea further.
Mm-hmm.
On February 18th, 1949, Haig invited Mrs. Durand Deacon into his workshop, where he shot her in the back of the neck with the revolver he had stolen from Henderson, killing her instantly. He then stripped her of her valuables, including a fur coat, and put her in the acid bath. The newer workshop he was in now did have a floor drain, so he drained the receptacle through the basement sewer once she had almost completely dissolved. However, the parts that would not sink he scraped from the vat and dumped once more in the backyard.
Ugh. God, the backyard, there has to be no grass.
And it's like the people who live above this place don't notice these stinking piles of like fetid, disgusting.
Thank you.
Also, like, they have to see these people go in that literally, the gunshots. He shot 3 of these people in someone's basement and no one heard.
Yeah.
Or they just turn a blind eye.
Well, I mean, and again, you got to figure it's the 1940s in England. You had World War II, which England got hit hard from World War II. Yeah. Especially London.
True.
You know, crime is a big problem. Morale is low everywhere. Poverty is a big issue in London at the time. So, I mean, unfortunately, it was probably a don't ask, don't tell kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Very, every man for himself. I don't want to be next kind of thing.
Yeah. Creepy things are happening. We don't really want to know what they are.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the 30s to like early 50s all over the world it was just bad.
Yeah.
There was the Depression and then World War II and it was just a rough time to live. After all that hard work, Haig went to the nearby Ye Old Ancient Prior's Restaurant, that's what it was called, where he treated himself to a delectable post-murder meal of an egg on toast.
What?
Yep.
That's classy.
If that's what he's eating, then it must just be his awful gambling habits. That's getting rid of his money because...
That's fair. Yeah, that can't possibly cost that much.
No.
So, unfortunately for Haig, this killing produced little profit, as Mrs. Durand Deacon was living a bit beyond her means. He made some money from the pawning of her clothing and jewelry, but he only received about a few £100 from her death, which he used to buy himself more time at the hotel he was living in. However, Haig had made a bit of a mess for himself this time, as he had struck close to home. In order to appear innocent, which, by the way, never works, Haig decided to start asking around after Mrs. Durand Deacon's whereabouts and feigning concern.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he ended up asking the wrong person, however, when he asked Mrs. Constance Lane about her dear friend. Constance, another retired woman living in the hotel, was stunned when he asked her this question. She shot back, immediately suspicious, and said, quote, "Don't you know where she is? I understood from her that you wanted to take her to your factory."
Ooh. Oh, damn. Ooh, she's savage.
Mm-hmm.
Haig immediately panicked, stating that he had not yet invited the widow to his workshop because it wasn't ready, whatever that means. Constance Lane, suspicious about her friend's disappearance, informed Haig that she was planning on reporting the disappearance to the police. Haig, because he is an idiot, instead decided to tell the police for her, once more hoping to appear innocent. Mrs. Lane agreed, but under the condition that they go together. So the two of them appeared in the police station. This is kind of surprising. I don't know why he didn't just say, "Oh, hold on, do you mind if we stop at my workshop first?"
Seriously, he'd done it before.
I mean, I'm glad he didn't.
Well, yeah, of course.
But it's definitely like...
Why now?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Once more, unfortunately for Haig, he was a bit of a celebrity at the police station, and he was recognized by an officer who had his background checked and confirmed the string of crimes in Haig's past. Haig was brought in for questioning on February 28th, 1949, where he denied any connection. However, the truth would emerge soon enough. The police discovered that Haig was renting a workshop and immediately rushed to investigate the area. While there, they found a gruesome scene. So, here's the point where I warn everyone that it's about to get bad. This one, I mean, it's not the worst thing that we've covered, but definitely don't be eating when you listen.
Don't worry, I'm done.
Okay, good. Most of Mrs. Durand Deacon's body had hardened to a sludge, which coated the backyard. But forensic investigators were able to unearth 28 pounds of human fat, a partly corroded bone of a human foot, Mrs. Durand Deacon's plastic handbag, which had resisted the acid.
Oh, man.
A plastic lipstick cap, a full upper denture, and 3 human gallstones.
Oh!
So, he didn't, make sure that they were all gone before he...
Seriously?
The last murder seemed like a rush job.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's because he was so desperate he needed the money immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't wait for her to completely dissolve. He was just kind of like, whatever, I've just got to get this taken care of.
Shove her in the back.
Get some money. Yeah.
Okay.
They also found a bone of the hip, which was still partly preserved, and it clearly showed that the remains were female.
Oh my God.
This, with all the other evidence they found, was enough to positively ID the victim as being Mrs. Durand Deacon. Of course, being a self-centered idiot, Haig was just as sloppy in covering up his crimes in his hotel room, as police quickly found Haig's attaché case, which contained a dry cleaner's receipt for the fur coat he pawned, and also paperwork connecting Haig to the Hendersons and McSwans.
Ooh.
When the police informed Haig of all their findings, he exclaimed, quote, "Mrs. Durand Deacon no longer exists. I've destroyed her with acid. You can't prove murder without a body."
What?
This is obviously incorrect.
Yeah.
So that plan backfired.
Oh my God.
See, Haig was under the impression that without the remains of his victims, he could not be convicted of the murder.
Oh, stupid.
You just said you did it.
But there was no body, so he thought because there was no body, he would get off scot-free.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to be put onto him.
Right.
Oh my God.
That sounds fake.
Yeah. So during his rant, he also confessed that he had killed Durand Deacon, the McSwans, and the Hendersons, as well as 3 other victims who were never confirmed.
Oh, jeez.
Haig was charged formally with the murder of Mrs. Durand Deacon and was held at the prison. However, he was already working on his plan. You see, Haig was convinced that he could escape execution and prison time by pleading insanity.
Oh, God.
He then... This part's so stupid. He even asked his jailers how hard it was to escape from Broadmoor, which was the UK's most famous secure mental hospital, and where Haig was hoping to go. You literally just asked them how to escape from the mental hospital.
That you're trying to get yourself into.
Right. If you're trying to plead insanity, you wouldn't be plotting. Oh my God, anyways. The jailer, not surprisingly, did not respond, but Haig got it in his head that he could fool everyone. After all, he had lived most of his life fooling gullible people, so how hard could this be? Haig began a long line of weird tactics to prove his insanity. He would confess to having dreams drenched in blood as a boy, which led to an obsession with blood, and he even claimed that after each kill he would, quote, "have my glass of blood after I killed them." One of his childhood dreams he explained in great detail, saying, quote, "I saw before me a forest of crucifixes, which gradually turned into trees. At first, there appeared to be dew or rain dripping from the branches. But as I approached, I realized it was blood. The whole forest began to writhe, and the trees, dark and erect, oozed blood. A man went from each tree, catching the blood. When the cup was full, he approached me. 'Drink,' he said, but I was unable to move." He would also go on to describe the cruel acts he would perform on his victims' bodies before giving them their final baths in acid. He would also drink his own urine in front of the guards to convince him that he was a lunatic.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. Shockingly, although this information was probably all falsified in an attempt to receive an insanity plea, the press of London ate it up.
Well, of course they did. Everybody loves the crazy guy.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
They began calling him the Vampire Killer, and he frequently would appear on the front page. In fact, this actually became such an issue that the British courts were pissed and fined the Daily Mirror £10,000, which again is like $150,000 now.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Also, the editor of the Daily Mirror was given a 3-month jail sentence for contempt of court, as the paper had been warned in the past not to post details of cases before the trial.
Oh, damn.
Ironically enough, the editor was sent to the same prison as Haig.
That sounds fake.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, there can't be that many prisons in London in 1949.
That's true.
So, During the trial, despite an attempt by Haig's defense to prove his insanity, the plea was ultimately negated when the psychiatrist used by the defense admitted to the prosecutor that Haig knew his acts were wrong, which proved that he was, in a legal sense, sane and able to stand trial.
Oh, how strange.
Despite not having the bodies to investigate, they were able to find sufficient forensic evidence, combined with his confessions, for him to be convicted for the murders. The jury took only 15 minutes to render a guilty verdict, and Haig was sentenced to death by execution.
Well, good for them.
Firing squad?
Hanging at this time.
Yeah, hanging in the 40s, right? Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haig still pled insanity even after the verdict was given, claiming that the oppressive religious upbringing his parents forced on him was what led to his later behaviors.
Oh, God.
But his horror stories did him no good. John George Haig was hanged at Wadsworth Prison on August 10th, 1949. Prior to his execution, Haig was asked if he wanted brandy, sort of a pre-death nightcap. Haig responded, quote, "Make it a large one, old boy," which is so British, I love it.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Oh my God.
So he was only 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
And thus ends the story of John George Haig, the acid bath murderer.
Woo!
Real quick, my sources were Wikipedia, and I got most of it from a very well-written article in the Bedlam Asylum crime files on him as well. So
interesting.
So, what'd you guys think?
That was fun.
That's not convincing.
He was dumb, but I'm very glad that he was dumb, because if he had been smarter and played his game better, he would have killed more people.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm glad that he faltered as much as he did, because if he was smarter, there would be a lot more added to his list.
Oh, definitely. I mean, clearly he proved that he was always going to get more money, so...
Right. So, I mean, in the end of that, I'm glad that he was idiotic.
True.
So that more people weren't killed.
I'm always amazed slightly. Like, I understand this was, he was born in 1909?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, the amount of detail we have that, like, it didn't just disappear somewhere. Like, that these records are still so clear.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of it could be word of mouth. Some of it could be family.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, some of it could be made up. I hate to say it, but...
But we never know.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
I'm just still amazed that, like, I don't know, that it's gotten this far, I guess.
But that's all history, you know, that it's lasted this long, and it is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So, in that case then, Allie, do you want to tell us about the totally unrelated topic that you have?
Yeah, sulfuric acid. That has nothing to do with what we just talked about.
Nothing
so
at all.
Weird, right?
No,
That is
yeah.
strange.
So, another name, like a more common name for sulfuric acid, is vitriol.
Yes.
I think, like, a lot of people call it sulfuric acid, but, like, when people who use it all the time, I feel like they call it vitriol. I don't know.
That's fair.
I've heard vitriol before.
Yeah. So the chemical formula is H2SO4. It contains 2 hydrogen atoms, a sulfur atom, and 4 oxygen atoms. The molar mass of sulfuric acid is 98.079 grams per mole, and its density is 1.8302 grams per centimeter cubed, which, to give you an idea about that, water's density is 1.00, so it's almost twice as dense as water.
Oh, okay.
Sulfuric acid is colorless and odorless, and it's a kind of viscous liquid. I've worked with it many times, and it's just some nasty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So 60% of its commercial use is in fertilizers, while 20% of its commercial use is in, like, productions of detergents, synthetic resins, and antifreeze.
Okay.
From there, about 6% is used in paints and enamels, and the rest is split between explosives, cellophane, acetate, batteries, and lubricants, which I am
Cellophane?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What the hell?
Well,
Interesting.
it's used as a catalyst in a lot of reactions. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And it didn't specify, but I'm assuming that the lubricants are industrial and not personal.
I would hope so.
Yeah. That sounds really unpleasant.
Again, it's a catalyst that's like I used it a lot in labs, and it all gets used up in the reaction.
Okay.
So like it's not like leftover acid. Most of it gets.
You're not just like buying acid scented lube or whatever.
Yes.
Acid flavored lube.
A lot of it gets either used up or like discarded at the end of the reaction.
Okay.
So
okay.
That. Yeah, I used it all the time. And it was always fun when we had to like dilute it. And then for some things you had to like, I don't know how to describe it. Like you had a beaker full of a liquid and then you had to get another test tube like upside down in the liquid.
Okay.
So like you'd have to put your finger on the end of it, immerse your hand in the liquid.
Oh.
And then like take your finger off of it so it would still be filled with air.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, to like collect gas.
I know it's not even remotely what you're talking about, but all I can picture is Irish car bombs.
Yes. Same thing. No, but like to collect gases, that's what you do.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So like I had to do that a lot of times with sulfuric acid and like in the solution in the bottom. So it's always just like, okay, all right, you have gloves on. You're going to take them right off. Please tell me that I diluted this properly, that I'm not just sticking my hand into acid.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But one of the times that it's like used as is kind of is in acidic drain cleaners. A lot of like that has a lot of sulfuric acid in it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously
like Drano and stuff.
Yeah. And then obviously to dissolve of bodies.
Right.
That's a good use for
it. I mean, pretty standard.
I mean, duh.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got.
Okay. Awesome.
I got most of my information from Wikipedia, and some of it I got from my labs and lab reports left over from college.
Oh, that works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for the research. I appreciate it. And it actually works. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, Lila, what have you got for us this week for Bitch Banter?
Okay, so this one's actually kind of cool. It has nothing to do with anything, but I know that Kim and Allie and I will all really enjoy this because it has to do with books.
Ooh.
Maybe not the way you think, but it's still fun.
Okay.
So the title of this Bitch Banter is Better Late Than Never. Man returns library book that was 53 years overdue.
What?
I feel like I have some of those myself.
I was going to say, I feel like Kim can relate.
Yeah.
A little bit. Maybe not 53 years, obviously, but maybe like 10, 5, 20. Who knows, you know?
Definitely probably 20.
So this article is from March 16th, 2019. They say better late than never. A New Jersey man pushed that to the limit when he returned a library book 53 years late, CBS New York reported. It was 1966 when the man, who was 13 years old at the time, checked out The Family Book of Verse by Lewis Gannett. Lyndon Johnson was president and the Vietnam War protests were raging. So that's how long ago that he took out this book.
What a dumb, boring book to
right?
have.
Right? The Family Book of Verse. I don't even... Okay. Harry Crame, now 65, said, laughing, that when he was asked his name while checking out the book, he said he couldn't give it because he was in the Witness Protection Program.
What? Maybe it's because his name is Harry Crane.
Crane said he found the book recently while cleaning out his basement and started to feel kind of guilty. It lasted a few seconds, he said. It was like, holy shit, I still have the book. He said he knew at that moment he had to take it back. So, after more than half a century, the former student returned the book to Memorial Middle School in Fair Lawn, New Jersey.
Oh my God, it was from middle school?
Middle school. He was 13.
I'm uncomfortable that this, whatever, how old, 60-something-year-old
65,
man went into a middle school.
To just return a book? Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like a very,
return a book. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Stare at children.
Right.
Especially since there was never any record of him checking this book out.
Right. Because he never gave his name. This is a fun little fact, though, right here. At 10 cents a day, that's about $2,000 $2,000, the school reckons, but not to worry. This is what they had to say. The vice principal of this middle school said, "We're not looking to collect on it."
Oh, how? That seems so low.
Yeah. And Dominic Terraquino is actually the vice principal's name. And he was shocked when the mysterious student, now an adult, came in and said he had something to return.
Mm-hmm.
Questionable. And then the last little part is the copy of the family book of verse was from 1961 when the cost of the book was $4.95.
Huh. Wow.
So
things used to be so cheap.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So he owed $2,000 on the book for it being $4.95. But then again, think of it, it's only 10 cents a day. So that's how cheap it was to be over on books. 10 cents a day. That's awesome.
You know, there was like one woman, like one crotchety Edna librarian who has been there since he took that book out.
Yeah.
And she was ready to rain hell down upon that man.
And the vice principal was just like, no, don't worry.
Do you know how many class sets they could have bought?
Right?
$2,000 doesn't go really that far, unfortunately, in the schools. He better have donated like a lot of paper. Like, what is this? You guys need like some rulers? Here's a bunch of rulers. What do schools need? Crayons?
Crayons. Well, it's a middle school, so like
Crayola
calculators.
crayons, okay? He better bring Crayola crayons.
Right.
Not rose art, because no one wants to use that.
Rose art.
Crayola.
Or any other knockoff brand. No.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so that was, and I got it from cbsnews.com.
Oh.
So that's Bitch Banter for this week.
So the funny story, that kind of reminds me. So when I was a kid, I actually went outside, which is really weird.
What?
And I know, weird. So I was sitting outside and I read a book, and then I set the book down. It was a library book, and I set the book down and I went inside, and then I guess I forgot about it. So it rained, and then the next day I went outside and the book was completely destroyed. So I never went back to that library until I got married and my name was different, so that they wouldn't know.
You actually returned it?
No, I never returned it. I just ghosted that library for 20 years until I got married and my name was changed, and then I could get a library card again.
Oh my god. That's kind of sad.
So I didn't want to. It was like $24 to replace the book.
Yeah.
And I was like 8.
Yeah, true.
So I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then once my last name changed, I was able to get a library card again. So I
See, I said 20 years.
Yeah, I may or may not have been a criminal. That book has long been thrown away. It was completely destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
There was no reading it. We tried really hard to save it. We were like blow drying it. It was completely and utterly destroyed.
What was the book? Do you remember?
It was a book on ancient Egypt.
Of course it was, you nerd.
Yeah, it was a nonfiction book on ancient Egypt. Yeah. I went outside when I was 8, but I did not have friends.
No. No, the books were your friends.
Yep, that's still true. Some of my fondest memories are with my friends.
Books.
Made of paper. Yeah, my life is sad. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please consider following us on Twitter at DeathDamesPod and on Instagram at DeathDamesPodcast, where we post pictures from the stories we cover. We also have a new Facebook profile, so give us a like there as well to stay up to date. Share your science, history, or true crime stories with us at our email, deathdamespodcast@gmail.com, and we may share them on an upcoming fan story episode.
Yes.
Also, if you wanted to send us, any recommendations, if you find a funny article and you want us to cover on Bitch Banter, anything like that, or even any cool documentaries you've seen, that you might want us to do another bonus banter on, because if you guys listened, our bonus banter went up on April 1st, about Abducted in Plain Sight. So if you guys like that, definitely let us know some other things you want to see us do bonus banters on as well.
Yes.
So if you liked this and want to hear more, please consider subscribing or following, leave a comment, rate and review, and share with anyone you think would like our weird podcast.
Remember, smart is sexy.
Bye.
Bye.